Good morning, good evening, good day, and welcome to Dramabuds. I'm Francine. I really love K-dramas, and I'm going to spend as much time as I want talking about them. Welcome to my podcast. So, hello everyone. Today's episode, we're going to talk about a show that it was a journey for me to watch this show. So we're going to talk about Doctor Romantic season 1 and 2. And the reason why I call it a journey is because I did not watch this in the traditional way. I kind of jumped around until, I realized this show is worth watching actually. So maybe I should watch it properly. And because this is kind of wild and it's not linear whatsoever, I realized there's no point in me actually giving a recap of both seasons because I don't actually remember most of the things that happened in like the first 2/3 of season 1 because I watched it back in like I don't know, September or July or something. And then I jumped forward to season 2 just this December. And then I went back to the episodes I didn't watch after I finished season 2. So it's kind of a mess. So let's just not. I don't want to give you wrong information, but I will talk about what I felt and what I think I remembered. So yeah, no recap today. I will just narrate my story with Doctor Romantic season 1 and 2. So first, the story with Doctor Romantic 1. So my sister and I watched this, several months ago. I really can't tell, but it's probably around September or July. And we watched the first 14 episodes. But okay, in the first place, we watched Doctor Romantic because of Yoo Yun Sok, because of course we watched him in Hospital Playlist, and it got a season 2. So it must be good, or it must have had really high ratings. And okay, before I get into like the story, the plot, and the characters, I will talk about the technical aspects. When we first watched this, it was like, is the show really released in 2016, 2017? Because, okay, the cinematography was really weird. Like, it looked so dated, right? And I thought, I mean, this was the year of, like, Goblin and Signal or something. Like, things, like, K-dramas were starting to become really pretty by now. So I don't understand why it looks like this. Even if it's SBS. Like, just because it's on a local network doesn't mean it's actually that low budget, right? But it looked really low budget. So I wasn't into it, like, visually. And then at this time, the only medical drama we watched seriously was Hospital Playlist. And so that's such a chill show. So slice of life, very relaxing. Yoo Yun Sok was also there. His character was, a pseudo priest. And then this show was like Korean Grey's Anatomy. So it kind of took us by surprise. But I wouldn't put that against as a point against the show. It was just like me as a viewer problem with my like history of the shows I've watched before. So I will not put that as like the fault of the show for being dramatic, because it's a TV show. It's allowed to be dramatic. It was just Hospital Playlist who, of course, as usual, a Shin PD drama breaks the mold, but we shall not discuss that today. We're done discussing that. But okay. And now I will discuss the story and the characters and why, even in that aspect, in my first viewing of the first 2/3 of the show, I really wasn't into it. First of all, I hated Kang Dong-ju, which was Yoo Yun Sok's character. And it's funny because I mentioned that he's like my least favorite male protagonist in my year-end awards. And the thing is, I couldn't sympathize with him. I didn't want him to succeed. Like, is it so out of this world? Is it so strange for me to want the protagonist in the K-drama I'm watching to succeed? But he was just so arrogant, right? He's so arrogant, and yet he had nothing to show for it. It seemed like he always messed up or he always didn't know what to do. And like, are you... I forgot, once again, I forgot the timeline of the show. I don't know if he's actually just a new fellow or something, or if he's been a fellow for a while, but it just seemed like, why are you, why are you so stupid? Be good. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, my expectations on the protagonist, but it didn't seem like, oh, this is a humbling journey or something. It seemed like he wasn't he wasn't becoming a better person. He was just really arrogant and really annoying, and he always talked back to teacher Kim. And I just felt like it wasn't justified, right? I don't know. I just didn't like his character. And it didn't help that, Yoo Yun-suk's acting wasn't that great. Like, he usually had just one face, or he would scoff and roll his eyes. And like, I've seen that expression over and over again. So it was just, I really did not like Kang Dong-ju. And I also didn't like the development of his relationship with the female lead, with Yoon So-jong. Because, okay, their first kiss on the first episode, I was shooketh. I was, wow, we're really doing a kiss on the first episode. And it wasn't even like a tame kiss. It was like, oh, a kiss. But then the context, it was a forced kiss. And like, it's 2016, guys. Not saying it was acceptable before, but it was just a lot less much more, we called it out more by 2016 or 2017. So it's like, we're still doing this trope, but okay. It was a good kiss, I guess. They had good chemistry and it was hot, but it just made me really uncomfortable and I hated it. And then, the development of the rest of the relationship was, throughout the show, it was him expressing interest in her. Even if, she repeatedly didn't, I don't know if she actually rejected him flat out, but she wasn't interested, or I think that was it. But he was the one who was persistent, and that just makes me uncomfortable. That makes me super uncomfortable in most, if not all, K-dramas. So I didn't like their relationship at all. Yeah, but what I did like was Yoon So-jong's character. Yoon So-jong, played by So Yoon-jin, my girl. Once again, I mentioned her in my year-end awards, and it's so funny how, So Yoon-jin or Yoon So-jong is on my top and my favorite best actress. Meanwhile, Kang Dong-ju and Yoo Yun-suk is in my worst male protagonists. But whatever, I digress. My story with So Yoon-jin is that I first met her here and I just immediately loved her acting. It's like, many actors and actresses are good at being emotional, right? When they have to cry, when they have to shout, they're good at it. But when they just have to act like a normal person and talk to their coworkers or to their family, they struggle. Like, it sounds so unnatural. It looks and sounds like they're acting, which defeats the purpose of it being like a natural everyday scene. Like in a Shin PD show, this would not fly because you have to be natural. So that's something that I immediately noticed with So Yoon-jin. That she's so good at being, the overused word for today is natural. It's just like, organic, if you want to change up the word. She's so organic. She's very, she's very down to earth and like quirky. Oh, I hate that word also. Quirky. But she's just fun to watch. And it's like she's not acting. It's like she's really Yoon So-jong talking to the other people in the hospital and whatever. And yeah, she's good at like the daily conversations, and she's also really good at like crying and being emotional or being like distraught because Yoon So-jong has been through a lot. I mean, her character was good. I liked her journey. I liked how persistent, like her persistence was more of in the please give me a chance despite like my PTSD, despite the incidents that happened around me. Like, I still want to be a doctor. I still want to be as good as you, teacher Kim. So yeah, I mean, like the things that happened in her life, they're a bit like very dramatic, very over the top, but It's a K-drama, and it seems like that's the standard for the show. So I'm not taking that against him. The thing is, like, for me, I think I focus too much on their romance, like the love line. For me, Doctor Romantic is about romantic doctors and their romance. So because I didn't like their development and I didn't like Kang Dong-ju, I dropped the show when they got together, which was like episode 14. And then when we tried watching episode 15, it's like I just got annoyed at them being like cheesy and whatever. It's like I'm not interested at all in their relationship. And I thought, if they got together, what was the point of the rest of the show? Yeah, so we just didn't continue it anymore. And for some reason, in my first viewing, I wasn't that invested in the other people in the hospital. So, yeah, to me, if it's a show about two main leads and they got together in episode 14 out of 20, it's like, what's the point of the rest of the show? So we just dropped it because, there was nothing interesting anymore. Or I didn't know and I didn't care about what I should expect or what was coming. So, we fast forward several months. It's December. I don't want to study. I don't want to do this anymore. And so, let's escape by watching K-drama. And the reason why I decided to watch Dr. Romantic 2, even if I didn't finish Dr. Romantic 1, was because I wanted to give Lee Sung-kyung a chance. Okay, here's the thing. I saw her in like She's in the Trap and It's Okay, That's Love. And it was essentially the same character, right? A pretty girl who's bratty and loud and annoying. And because I only saw her in those two supporting roles, I thought she couldn't act. Yeah. And I'm never going to watch Weightlifting Fairy or, I don't know, what was the other one? About Time. I don't know. I'm not inclined to watch that. But, Dr. Romantic, I'm kind of familiar with the other characters, and it's a season 2 of a show that did really well. So, maybe it would be okay. And then when I actually watched her in the show, and like when I give actors a chance, I try to be like, okay, I will not criticize anything they do. I will just watch it as objectively as I can and try to, assess their performance and their character they're playing without like any of my internal biases against them. Okay. And then surprisingly, I really liked her, and I also liked the male lead. Like, they're much more sympathetic. Yeah, you can sympathize with them more easily than you did with the leads of the first season. And even if there was like a flashback kiss like early in the show, I can't really recall, I felt like they weren't pushing the romance between these two, the two leads, as heavily as they did in the first season, which to me was really refreshing, because it's like, if they're not doing that, then what are they going to focus on for the show? Because in season 1, it was kind of a lot more romance than what we saw in season 2. And so, okay, first of all, I like Cha Eun-jae, which was played by Lee Sung-kyung. And it's like, it could have been easily an annoying character for me. Given that I have, honestly, I disliked Lee Sung-kyung and her acting before. Like, given all my internal biases against the actress, and like how I don't usually like female leads that are, bubblier. She's not actually super bubbly, but I mean, it could have been so easy for me to just hate her. But I didn't, because not that I could relate to her struggle, but like, her struggle was understandable. It was more really internal. Like, similar to Yoon Sojong, it was an internal struggle that she had to overcome. I don't know if it was something in her past, but something in her psychological state. Yes, as a psych major, something in her psychological state to do well. And it's like, if I didn't like her character, I would have just thought like, you know what? If you can't operate because you keep throwing up or passing out, then just quit. Like, why are you making life difficult for everyone else? Just go. Just leave. But I wanted her to get through her anxiety to get over it, I guess, and just be able to perform well because she's actually smart, she's actually good, she's actually competent, right? And so, once again, is it so much to want to root for your protagonists, for your main leads? Is that too much to ask? So yeah, I was rooting for her. And like, it was just the entire thing with a placebo pill that was actually, digestive medicine or something. Like, it was just so funny. I like the thought of it, that all this time you were taking a placebo and you thought that was like anti-anxiety meds. But if you actually look deeper into it, it's like, it's a great lesson, really, on how she never needed, special medication formulated to help her with anxiety. She just needed to believe that she had what it takes to do it, to operate in the OR. It's like whether that belief is in this medicine that should be helping her manage her anxiety, or if the belief she should be believing in herself. And that was just such a great moment, a great lesson to tell. And I love that. And so when she finally overcame that anxiety, I was really happy for her. I wanted her to succeed. I wanted her to become better. So that's great. Plus point on a protagonist. Apparently, the bare minimum is that I should want to root for the protagonists. And so I rooted for Cha Eun-jae. So that's great. And another thing to compare between the main leads of season 2 and season 1 is that the leads in season 2, the relationship, I actually liked the development of the relationship. Like, it wasn't okay, it was framed as if they were rivals or whatever, right? Because they're both at the top of their class or whatever. But Cha Eun-jae was more like book smarts and So Woo-jin was more practical. And so they kind of had to balance each other out in a way. And they became like study buddies, right? I love that, we had flashbacks to their med school days. And instead of focusing on their rivalry, instead of making them hate each other, they kind of became allies because they both wanted to succeed in this world. I love that. That's so healthy. And, in general, the relationship was more natural. It developed much more slowly than the relationship in season 1. But I liked it more because I felt like they developed a deeper friendship or comradeship before they started pursuing the romantic thing. But okay, here we go. Here's the character I loved. I loved So Woo-jin, which is An Yosop's character. First of all, he's a much, 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 much better male lead than Kang Dong-ju. Okay, because he's good because they show you that he's good. Instead of, Kang Dong-ju who says he's good but always messes up. And it's like, okay, not every protagonist is some genius level doctor or whatever they're supposed to be. And also not every protagonist is Jang Gore, who is absolutely not good at what he's doing. But, if you say you're good, or people in the show say you're good, you better walk the talk. Because it just gets annoying if you're not good. And it's not like, oh, you're not good and you're insecure, like some imposter syndrome type. It's not like that. It's like, you say you're good, but you're absolutely not proving it in any way whatsoever. So, whatever, I digress. I liked So Woo-jin. And he started out, same as all the other leads, like, started out hostile to Teacher Kim, but the relationship is actually super heartwarming because, at first he has to prove himself that he's good at his job and that he's useful to Teacher Kim so that he can stay in Doldam. And then, Teacher Kim gives him a chance and then he has to stay first and then lends him money to pay off his debt, his loan. And then, eventually, like, So Woo-jin is just in general grateful for that opportunity, for the fact that, Teacher Kim, first of all, saw something in him. Even if it's like, oh, I have to prove myself that I'm useful. Even if it started out that way, it's like just the thought that someone who's this good at what they're doing sees something special in you and tells you to stay. That's such a would surely boost my motivation to work hard. And then next is the thought is just Teacher Kim in general being such a good mentor and really like helping him grow and become a better surgeon. And then seeing the more human side of Teacher Kim and being part of the team that, helps him figure out what's happening to him and like helping him manage his symptoms or whatever. I don't want to spoil that part. It's just really good. Okay, I really, really love their relationship. And it helps that An Yo-sop is a really good actor. Like, he won Baeksang Best New Actor this year, and he absolutely deserves that. Like, he's good at acting with his eyes. And in a show where you have to wear a mask and act with your eyes, that's very, very much a useful skill. It's like, even when he's wearing a mask in the OR, like, you can see, like, if Teacher Kim praises him, like, you can see if he's grateful for it, and like when he's actually doing well in his like surgery and his operation, like you can see the confidence in his eyes, or like how pleased he is that people are praising him or that he's doing well in his job. And like just with his eyes, you can tell how he's feeling. I love that. He's so good. And also like in general, he portrays the exhaustion of So Woo-jin, or like how done he is with his situation, but how desperate he is to still make it through, to still keep going, and to not like succumb to the the despair of this insurmountable loan or debt, right? And I love that. I really love how An Yo-sop contributed to how much I loved his character. Maybe in another world, he would have been part of the Best Actor winners. But we'll see. I haven't seen enough of his works. And, the best part is, like, at the end of the show, he becomes Teacher Kim's next favorite child. Which is great because, Teacher Kim being a dad is my favorite part of this show. And, okay, what changed about this show? I mean, a lot changed about this show, but what changed about me as a viewer? When I changed my focus on Dr. Romantic being about romance, and I realized that Dr. Romantic is not about romance, it's about Teacher Kim's romanticism, his idealism. When I realized that's what Dr. Romantic meant, okay, everything changed. Everything, my whole perspective on the show changed, and I focused more on Teacher Kim Sabu, Bu Yong-ju, okay, whatever I end up calling him in this episode, played by Han So-kyu. When I focused on him more, I realized, he's the real protagonist of this show. Those two in the both seasons, they're just the leads, I guess, but the protagonist, the central character here, it's Bu Yong-ju. So what changed in season 2? I feel like season 2 portrayed him less as like Dr. Superman and more as a human, as just a simple doctor. And I really also loved like the mentor-mentee relationships he had with Cha Eun-jae and So Woo-jin. And in general, he's just, once again, he's just such a great dad figure to all of them. It's like, I can't go into detail on his like journey as a character as much as I could with like the two main leads, because I feel like we're in the middle, not so much in the middle of his journey, where he's old, he's gone through the character development, most of the character development. He's the one who just kind of has to deal with the brunt of the plot. Okay, so yeah. And in general, I also focused more on the relationships between the people in the hospital. Like, you see how important, like, Nurse O is, or Dr. Nam, or the administrative assistant whose name Manager Jang. Right. Like, the relationships of the four main, like, adults in the show. It's also very heartwarming because you can see how much they care about Doldam Hospital and how they're trying to uphold and maintain the romanticism that keeps Doldam going, or that makes Doldam the hospital that it is. I also loved the new additions to the cast. So first I loved Bae Moon Jung, played by Shin Dong Wook, who is the bone doctor, the ortho. He's so cute. I don't know why. He's just so cute to me. Maybe it's the glasses. But okay, anyway. I loved like the mystery around him. It's like, why does he always seem like he knows more than everyone else, than what you think he knows? And after the big incident with him and So Woo Jin towards the end of the show, which I will not spoil. I will not spoil. It's pretty sad. But, eventually, instead of just harboring resentment and anger towards him, So Woo Jin just naturally, I don't know if necessarily forgave him or just accepted that this is the situation, but Dr. Bae is not really the one at fault. But that happened instead of like them harboring or him harboring resentment towards Dr. Bae. That happened because they built a good rapport. They built a good relationship with each other already throughout the show, and they both had the mission of helping Teacher Kim out with what he was dealing with. And so, like, because they had that good work and personal relationship, like, they were able to get through that big emotional conflict with each other. So I love that, and it showed maturity in both of the characters. So yeah, love it. Next character I loved was Yoon Arum, played by Soju Yoon, who's the new ER resident. Once again, she's so cute, she's so adorable, she's a very like light-hearted character, and she had this cute love line with Nurse Park Untak, played by my baby boy Kim Min Jae. And though I didn't super care about their love line, especially because I didn't finish season 1, so I didn't really know what Untak's story was in season 1. But yeah, I didn't care so much, but it was cute. And Untak, my baby boy Min Jae, deserves happiness no matter what show he's on. Okay. Next character I liked was Park Min Guk, played by Kim Joo Hoon, who is the new president of Doldam Hospital. And I really, really loved his journey. I loved his insecurity regarding Teacher Kim. And I love how, throughout the show, like, Teacher Kim, at first, when President Park came into the hospital, I love how Teacher Kim had hope that he would be a great addition to the staff, to all the doctors in the hospital. But eventually, with President Park siding with, the chairman, and just, being a nasty little slave to the capitalist masters or something, Teacher Kim eventually kind of lost that respect for him, even if he is an excellent surgeon, an excellent doctor before, or yeah, in general. And I love how Teacher Kim didn't mean to look down on him, but it was President Park who was kind of projecting his insecurities over Teacher Kim being this like untouchable, idealistic doctor who just does everything to help others, to help his patients, and how he still succeeds. Meanwhile, like, President Park, he's a good doctor as well. He's earned his stripes and whatsoever, but how come he's still afraid of taking certain surgeries and doing certain things? Like, how come he's not as fearless and selfless as Teacher Kim? And so he's kind of projecting those insecurities on him, and that's why he seemed even more pathetic, because it wasn't Teacher Kim who was really looking down on him, it was him looking down on himself, right? And towards the end, I loved how he kind of came back to himself, to his true self. Like, he's not as crazy idealistic as Teacher Kim, but he's still a good person. He's not so ambitious that he doesn't want to do what's best for his patients or for the people. And yeah, he eventually ended up kind of on Doldam's side in the end. And I liked his story arc. I liked how he was able to overcome his insecurities and just decide to be a good doctor. I don't need to be extremely ambitious. I don't need to beat Teacher Kim. I just want to be a good doctor again. I love that. I love that story. And the last new character I liked was Shim Ye-jin, played by Park Hyo-joo, who is the new anesthesiologist in Doldam Hospital that President Park brought from Gosan, the main branch. At first, you just see her as, one of President Park's new underlings and all. But what I liked about her was that in her own way, she was trying to help So Woo-jin. Because, So Woo-jin had a history of being a whistleblower. So people in the main branch of the hospital didn't trust him because he already had a history of being a whistleblower. And then he was, fired from that job, and he found his way to Doldam. And then, he was, basically, Dr. Shim was aware of his history. And in Doldam, during the season, like, he had an opportunity again to expose something, to be a whistleblower again. And so she was trying to convince him not to do that, even though, like, morally it's the right thing to do because the doctor messed up and harmed the patient in the end, even if they were able to fix it. After in this emergency operation, like, the damage was done in the first operation and was never told to that patient. Okay. Too many details. But whatever. Her point was, like, she was like the realistic voice, who was telling Sojin, like, you were already a whistleblower once. You don't need to do this again because do you really want to have no chance in the world outside of this hospital? Like, do you really not want to free yourself from that terrible reputation? And she was the realistic voice against Nurse O's, like, idealistic. Of course, she's a Doldam native, so she's more idealistic about it. Like, you should do the right thing. Or not that she explicitly said that, but just that, she was kind of egging So Woo-jin on. Like, just do what you think is right. Wink, wink. And, as much as I usually like the realistic characters, this show is Dr. Romantic. Okay? It rewards idealism and romanticism. And it's okay for me because it's literally in the show's name. Like, this is a show about idealistic people succeeding. This is not pretending to be extremely realistic and pragmatic. Like, no, this is a show about idealism and it will reward idealism. So I just liked how, if you think about it, her advice is not wrong. She's not entirely like, oh, just hush, just be quiet about it because you will damage the hospital's reputation and you will hurt another doctor. It's like, for your own good. I will talk about it for your own good, not for the reputation or for the career of anyone else's. Like, don't do this. But this is not the show for someone to be ideal, for someone to be realistic. And so, she kind of lost that battle, but she was not a terrible person. I just liked, like, the idea of putting someone realistic like that who is not necessarily antagonistic. Right? Okay. That was a nice way to put that. Okay. So, in general, I think why I liked season 2 immediately more than season 1 was because it focused less on, like, medical cases, interesting medical cases and issues. It focused more on hospital politics. And as someone who had just finished life earlier that month, I love that. I love politics and all that. It's not as serious as life, so I can't really recall all of the issues that they grappled with. But yeah, in general, if you watch season 1 and 2 back to back, you'll see the stark difference in, like, the focus of the overarching plot. But yeah, even if it's not as memorable as life, that's such an unfair comparison. I will not even make that comparison. That's unfair to Dr. Romantic. It's good. It's good in its own way. Season 2 is really good in its own way, and I love that. And the cinematography was super pretty, and the OST was great. So I feel like from the very beginning, I knew that season 2 already addressed some of my major gripes with the first season, which was, the dated cinematography. It now looks amazing. The palette is beautiful. And the unlikable main lead. Like, it fixed that completely and made both of them pretty strong on their own. So, that's great. And after finishing season 2, I went back to season 1. Just the last 6 episodes that I didn't watch. So, going back to episode 15, it started out immediately with the scenes that made me drop the show, which was just Kang Dong-ju and Yoon So-jung, dating and becoming cheesy and trying to have a secret relationship in the hospital. But, whatever, I just let it slide because I realized I just had to reframe my perspective. This show is not about them, so their love line is pretty much all set. It's time to focus on the rest of the show. And, like, as I was watching, I realized how much more dramatic the medical cases were in the first season. Like, it was crazier, really, and more, like, intense, higher stakes and all. Not saying that, the lives and the cases in season 2 did not have high stakes. I'm just saying it seemed more dramatic in season 1. And I realized that season 1 tackled more medical issues, not just cases. Like, I remember an earlier episode where there was a family that they suspected had MERS, and, like, they had to quarantine the whole ER, and, like, watching that in literal quarantine was kind of just uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to see, like, the daily life nowadays in TV, but yeah, like, it was just an interesting it was interesting to see that because other medical dramas don't usually touch on very contagious diseases like MERS or whatever. And in the special episode, it tackled HIV positive patients and how a lot of hospitals refuse to take them in because of the risks of infecting others and all. Like, just issues, not just individual cases or diseases. Just, yeah. Okay, you get it. You get the point. But I guess that is something that Dr. Romantic 2 didn't focus too much on. So if you are interested in just the medical part of this, season 1 might be better off for you. Okay, and so now that I finished season 1, things I liked. I liked the end of Kang Dong-ju's story arc with his anger over his father's death. Like, his belief that a VIP patient was prioritized over his father in the ER. But the truth was that that was Teacher Kim who... Eventually, he found out that Teacher Kim was the one who made that call. And then, as a doctor, he realized that, that it didn't matter that the other guy was a VIP patient. It really was that he had a more severe case that needed emergency treatment before Kang Dong-ju's father. So, that's a perspective that you only get as a doctor, right? Like, you won't understand. Like, if you think of it as a son who lost his father, like, yeah, you will always be mad about that. But when he learned the entire truth, like who the doctor who made that call was, what exactly were the conditions of both patients, the timing of everything, like, as a doctor, you understand why Teacher Kim had to make that decision back then. And even if he was angry about it for most of his life, he realized that he was only able to come to this conclusion and make this realization because he was spurred on, inspired to be a doctor by that incident. And it kind of just came full circle that he was able to accept the incident because he became a doctor and he met Teacher Kim. So I like that entire story arc now that I was able to watch the conclusion of it. Okay. Another thing I loved was finally finding out the full story of how Boo Young-ju became Kim Sabu, Teacher Kim, because of Jang Yoon-ju, which is played by Kim Ye-jun, who I will always refer to as Bitna from Chip In. Even when she was the queen in Kingdom, I refer to her as Bitna the queen. But anyway, yeah, it was just it was cute and then it became sad, but I realized that from the very beginning, from even way before the show started, Boo Young-ju was a mentor to people. He was a good teacher. He helped this kind of persistent patient who wouldn't stop asking him questions about surgeries and all. Like, he just helped her for the fun of it. I don't know. And that kind of made him, when she eventually died, of course, like that kind of spurred him on, or inspired him, or made him want to be a better mentor and a better teacher, to really become Kim Sabu, Master Kim. So, yeah, because now that I personally focused on his role as a mentor in season 1, I loved his character even more, especially knowing his backstory. And like, he's a lot more gentle in Dr. Romantic 2, maybe because he's older. But you kind of started seeing the seeds of that gentleness towards the end of season 1, and I love that. And what I really loved the most was Teacher Kim's relationship with Yoon Sojong, because I love how he always encouraged her. Like, okay, at first he's very harsh on her. He, after her big PTSD breakdown and all, he forbid her from operating and from being in the ER. She became an orderly and whatever. And at first you think he's too harsh on her. Like, it was just an incident. It was just one incident. Surely she'll do much better, and he can just help her recover from her PTSD instead of shunning her like that. But you realize that his decisions actually come from a good place. That I think she really needed space from it. She needed to, just to have that drive again, because when she was made into an orderly, she wanted to become an actual doctor even more. You get me the point? Like, you get the point? It's like, when she was kept away from it, that's when she wanted it more. And so when she came back to being a full doctor, like, she was 100% into it, and she realized that this was what was important to her. Being a doctor was more important to her, and she needed to recover from her trauma and all that. And like, when she became okay, like, Kim Sabu is always encouraging her. Like, even when she messed up in like this major surgery, which was pretty intense, by the way. Like, the last few episodes focused on that surgery. It was a pretty bad mistake, and it could have really cost like the life of the patient, and or if not, just all the time that they were trying to save while doing that operation as quickly as possible. Even when she messed up that badly, like his voice when he said, "It's okay. It's okay." Even when other people were watching a live stream of their operation, like, he kept his cool for her, and they were able to overcome that mistake together. And I loved how, like, his belief in her led to her belief in him. Like, when he wanted to do this really risky surgery, it was Sojong. She was the first person who said, "Okay, game, I'll help you out with that." Right? And so, like, his belief in her led to her belief in him. And I just love that relationship between them. And like, watching the end of season 1, it's like, oh my gosh, Yoon Sojong is Kim Sabu's very first child. Okay, fine, his first child is probably the Bitna, but his real first child is Yoon Sojong, and she always will be. The relationship is just so special, and I love that. So yeah, those are the things that I realized are actually really good about season 1, or I realized how, if I just changed my perspective and what I focused on, like, season 1 is actually not bad, and I should have finished it in the first place. Maybe I would have watched season 2 much faster if I did, but okay. So, next thing we will discuss very briefly is the special episode. Honestly, I watched the special before finishing season 1. I watched the special in the middle of watching season 2 because I found out that my queen, Kim Hye Soo, was there. And I don't know what to feel. I don't know why. Like, it was just a surprise to see Kim Hye Soo and Han Soo-ki was, what? You guys were former lovers? But, okay, yeah. Lee Yong-jo, just Kim Hye Soo's character, she's perfect. I love her so much. Like, their story, former rivals to lovers who parted ways, who pursued different things in the world, and reunited after many years of being apart. and yet you still feel the love between them. Like there could be something here, but is it too late for us? Has too much time passed? I, it's really the one that got away. I love it. Okay, I ship it so much, and so because of that, I will now move on to my hopes for season 3, which I think if season 3 will happen, this should be the last season. Okay, it's enough. We've accomplished enough in these 3 seasons. So here are the things that need to happen for season 3. First, they need to wait for Yang Sejong to be released from the military because I refuse to accept that he will not be in season 3. Next, they need to save up. They need to save up or get so many like sponsors and product placement. They need to get all the money they can get. So that they can get Yoo Yeon-seok and So Yeon-jin from Dr. Romantic 1 and An Yo-sop and Lee Sung-kyung from Dr. Romantic 2. They also need to bring back President Park since, in the plot, he is the one helping Teacher Kim make Doldam into a trauma center. He has to be there. Also, please bring back Bone Doctor. I love him. He's so cute. Please bring him back. I realize I do not care what the plot is as long as I get to see Teacher Kim and all his children together in one hospital and he mentors them to take over Doldam while he becomes more and more sick, and maybe they can help each other to help him get better or manage his symptoms or whatever. I don't care, but I just need like the father-children interaction. Okay. And in a perfect world, Kim Hye Soo would be in the main cast. And they can be, the power couple of Doldam. Or they can slowly, she's such a powerful presence that will kind of challenge, Teacher Kim's competitive. Is he competitive? Okay, yeah, maybe they will go back to being competitive with each other. Not in a negative, hostile way, but just friendly competition, once again. And they'll get to know each other, how they have changed over the years as they slowly get back together, and they'll see the changes in each other, but they'll realize that the spark and the love is still there. So yes, if not, if the budget can't handle all these stars, I understand. So if not, please, just another Kim Hye Soo cameo towards the end where they imply that she will get, or Teacher Kim will get his happy ending with her. That is all I want. Please bring back Kim Hye Soo. Please, I love her so much. And their story is so good. Yeah, honestly, the only thing that matters to me is the Kim Hye Soo happy ending. Okay. So, overall thoughts on the show. It's actually a good series. It deserves its success. It deserves the ratings. It deserves the season 2. And it also deserves the season 3. And I feel like this show is a perfect example of why managing your expectations and knowing what to focus on will completely change your viewing experience and make it better or worse, right? If I didn't focus on Kim Sabu instead of the leads, if I kept focusing on the leads, I probably would have thought this show was pointless once again, because at least in season 2, when I gave it another chance, it's what is the point of this? Their story is barely moving. Okay, they're kind of friends, but doesn't really matter that much. And then, yeah, a lot's happening with Kim Sabu, but if I didn't care about him, if I didn't realize that the show was actually focusing on him, I would not have understood why we needed to focus on him so much. But I did. And so I realized how much I loved Kim Sabu as a character, how important he is to the show, to all the other protagonists, and even the supporting characters. And so when I went back and finished season 1, I realized this is good. I actually like this. So yeah, my point is, sometimes you need to know what to expect. Okay, because if you focus on the wrong things, you're not going to understand or like what you're watching. Okay? there. It's like, just focus on Dr. Romantic being about romanticism and not about romance. Romantic teacher, Dr. Kim. That's the other title of the show. And maybe if I had realized what that meant, I would not have taken this long to watch a show that I actually really like. I mean, Dr. Romantic too. Okay, I usually have like a top 10 of my favorite K-dramas. Top 5 is like ultimate faves, and then the 6 to 10 is like faves. And then I had to add a special category, the 11 to 15, the special mentions, because I had to put Dr. Romantic there. Like, I just had to remember that I really liked this show, okay? I really, really liked it. And I am eagerly looking forward to Dr. Romantic 3, but I don't mind waiting because, once again, they need to wait for Yang Sejong because I refuse to not have him. He is one of Teacher Kim's children. He will be there. And they also need to save up as much money as they can for all the stars that I want on this show. So that's it for me today. That's my big rant on Dr. Romantic. Yeah, this is a show that I didn't think I would end up liking after a second chance, but sometimes you do need to give shows a second chance. Okay. Or actually not really. The only reason why I gave season 1 a second chance was because of season 2. So, I don't know what I was trying to go with this, but yeah, manage your expectations, know what to look out for, and you will enjoy what you're watching. So that's it for me today. Thank you for tuning in, and see you soon.